Hello, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Nathan.
And today we are going to talk about how we organize our freezer. So with a chest freezer like this, it's important to make sure that everything is easily found and accessible from the top. Because with a chest freezer like this, it's really deep, and if you're not careful, you can lose things in the bottom, and then you have to go dig to find them. So with a chest freezer like this, it's also very important that you have structure to keep your stuff where you want it. Again, it's very deep, and so if you don't have the structure, it'll just fall all over and it won't be where you expect it to be, because as you put more things in it, they will just slide on top of the others and get buried and lost. So right now we have this nice wooden structure in here that Nathan built. We'll pull it apart and show you how we made it a little bit later in the video. But it's so far has been really good because it's strong and it keeps things where we want it. So before we had this, we used boxes. The boxes worked relatively well, but they weren't perfect because we could never quite find the right size boxes, and sometimes we'd have too big of spaces or too little of spaces. And over time, they did start to break down, and we had to then try and find new ones. One thing we have found useful is to have less variety in the freezer. This means that we have only a few kinds of meat and a few other things that we use almost every week. This makes it easier to find things because we have less things to store. It also means if some disaster happens and we lose power, there's less things in our freezer to go bad. Another important thing to do is to make sure you rotate your food. So this means when you bring your new food in from the grocery store, that you put it on the bottom and you have your old food on the top. So that means that you are using your old food first, and so you don't get something lost in the bottom that is 2 or 3 years old because you just kept putting new food on top of it. We would also suggest doing a regular reorganizing every 6 months of your freezer. This means you go through and take inventory and see if there's something in there that you bought and you thought you'd use it, but you haven't, and so it's just been sitting around for those 6 months. And then what you need to do is make plans to use it up and make sure you don't buy it again. With our family, we found it useful to buy hamburger in bulk quantities. This means that it comes in a large package that you can't just throw in the freezer. So we have to repackage it some way. So I divide it up into pound or half-pound portions and put them into freezer bags, like this one. And so sometimes I remember to date them, but I usually always label them 2 times or 1X. And that tells me what size they are. One of the things we have left to do in our freezer reorganization is to label the sections of the freezer. And so this will mean when we bring the groceries home and we go to put things in that freezer, we'll know exactly where the bread or the meat goes, and nothing is put in the wrong place and gets lost in the shuffle.
Now I'm going to show you how we created the little dividers that we have inside of our freezer. So basically what we did was we got some plywood. I believe this is 3/8 of an inch, but you could also probably use 1/4 inch plywood. We then measured how the various dimensions inside the freezer. We were careful to note when we were measuring the depth that we want to get from the bottom of the freezer up to the bottom of the basket. We still want that basket to be able to slide inside the freezer. And so then we just cut out a couple of pieces. So 2 pieces like this that we're going to go this way inside the freezer, and then a bigger piece that is going to go lengthwise inside the freezer. And then once we had cut those things out, we cut slots in them that go just over halfway up, slots in the long one, and then also slots in the smaller one. Once we have all those slots cut out, the slot in this one is able to slide into the slot in this one, and the same for the other piece as well. And so then once we've got all those pieces and we can slide them into each other, we can then put that together and just slide that into the freezer. And from there, we're able to easily just slide that in, and we get all of the little 6 compartments inside of our freezer that allow us to better keep our freezer organized. Thank you for listening. We hope that this has been informative. We hope this has been helpful, and we would encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share with your friends as well. Thank you for listening.